Judy, welcome to the Fashion Business Mindset podcast.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's lovely to have you to be able to chat today together. It's been a long time coming and it's a real privilege. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I cannot wait to dive into your story and into the amazing business TVSN. So, Judy, to set the scene, could you please share a little bit about your journey in retail with us and tell us about the path that led you to become the CEO of TVSN?
I think it's a lot of luck, a lot of hard work, but I started off in South Africa actually, and all I wanted to, I was born in Cape Town, and I really just wanted to be an art editor of a magazine. That's my life's ambition. Besides being a fire engine driver, I'm sure, when I was little, and studied. My father said, absolutely no way. There is no way you're going to be studying art. It's a Mickey Mouse degree. And so I ended up doing business and a social science degree. And then I did a postgrad at University of Cape Town in business and in marketing and conflict management, and ended up, I did some work with Cosmopolitan magazine, and then realized I really need to get some retail experience if I'm going to go anywhere with this whole magazine situation that I had a dream of, and ended up working for Foschini Group, which is probably the luckiest spot I ever landed in, really, and a phenomenal blue chip retailer out of Africa and based in Cape Town as well. Have many different chains under their umbrella. And I ended up working as a retail trainee for American Swiss, which is a big jewelry store, and ended up doing a month in a warehouse, a month in stores, and a month in head office in an area other than where you're going to end up, so other than marketing, and ended up in the buying diamond department. Well, as a girl, I didn't even know about buying at the time. I didn't even realize, I hadn't even thought about buying as a career, but I was so lucky to get given a chance to work with also a phenomenal lady at the time who was fierce and ferocious, called Shirley Wishart or Shirley Brink, and she really knew her stuff, was one of the youngest, and I learned a lot. All the things that, as a young person, you complain about in your earlier years, and you think, oh, I'm working so hard, and I don't know if they recognized me, and I think they did, and I was very fortunate, moved around and ended up staying in buying, never got to marketing, and stayed in buying, and I was there for sort of 4 or 5 years. Met my now husband. We decided to move to London, and you think the world's your oyster. You're only going to be there for a year, and then you're going to come home and back to Cape Town, and you'll be able to afford the house because you would have made some money in London. And before I knew it, actually one of an old vendor set up an appointment for me with QVC and with the buying director at the time, Kathy Evans, and we had a 3-hour interview, and she told me everything that was going to be wrong with QVC. And QVC is the largest shopping channel today, owned by Curate. And I thought, you know what, I know nothing about TV, and I'm only here for a year, so why not? And I got a job in gold buying, and I suppose the rest is history, really. I got a job at Harrods for fashion, and I'd got a job as for another fashion department store, as well as a knitwear buyer. And I was like, oh, I'm going to stay in jewelry, and I'm going to try this TV thing out. And it was incredible. It was probably only about 18 months old in the UK at the time. And there was something that I heard from her at the time. And Kathy said to me, Judy, whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And it's such a simple saying. And yet it's the thing that I say to everybody who joins TVSN today. And wherever I've been in my career, I've really said that to anybody joining, is that it's up to you. Quality starts with you. And whatever you're going to put into this job is what you're going to get out of it. So, and then, I was there for 15 years and ended up consulting. I had my 3rd baby at the time, and I was like, I really need to spend some time at home, and consulted, ended up not spending too much time at home and traveling around Asia. Worked for a Chinese company that was affiliated to Lagardère Active, who really was all about kind of refocusing and rebranding ELLE on the accessory side, and fashion jewelry and fine jewelry. It was an incredible project. We opened up stores in Korea, opened up stores in Shanghai. We recalibrated our entire marketing focus from a global perspective. It was a real privilege as well to work on this brand for close to about 18 months, 2 years. We had a creative director who was in Israel. We had a marketing director that was between Milan, and then we had our design director who lived in Canada. It was such a global team, and obviously a phenomenal manufacturing base out of China. So, those years were incredible. And it was whilst I was in St. Lucia on holiday in the Caribbean, at about 11:30 in the morning, probably a good 2 or 3 decaries deep, when I got a headhunter call to say, would I like to come to TVSN? Would I be interested? I never even remotely thought that I would want to move to Australia. I'd heard about TVSN, obviously, because it's obviously in the landscape of TV shopping. And I was very involved with QVC at the time and a lot about the shopping channels. And one thing led to another. I came over for a little bit of a trip, and the rest is history. And I've been here 9.5 years. So brilliant company, really, really fortunate. So yeah, a little bit about my background.
Wow, what a phenomenal grounding in the industry, Judy. It takes me back, actually, when you're talking about your grounding and buying and travel. It takes me back. I had a similar journey in the early days. And like listening to that, there's no doubt that that richness of experience has really served you well in your role now as CEO at TVSN. And it sounds like you had some great mentorship along the way. So lots of those learnings along the way to now be able to share with your team as a leader of the business. I would love to dive into TVSN and talk about this unique business model as Australians' leading experiential retailer. You film 13 hours of live TV, 7 days a week, broadcasting across Australia and New Zealand. Let's pull back the curtain into this world of TV shopping.
Sure. You know, it's an incredible industry. It's been going for nearly 50 years. It started in the US. And actually, I think it's about the third largest curate, for example, I was mentioning own QVC and HSN, or Home Shopping Network in the US. It's actually the third largest retailer in the world today, I believe, after Walmart and Amazon. So it's a huge, huge power, if you like. We've been going here for about 27 years in Australia. It's had different ownership over the time, as it's been privately owned, and now it's private equity owned by great partners in CPAC. And I think really the real mojo of what we stand for throughout the years and what we will be in years to come is that we know how to sell product using video. Like the motion and the demonstrability of a product, that's really our secret sauce. And I think what we've been really fortunate enough to do in Australia is to really be nimble. You know, you can set yourself up and become quite archaic, and you've got phenomenal studios and everything. But if you're not agile about how you learning from the past, but keeping true to your DNA and what you really are about, you start losing your path going forward. And I think in this, you know, we're based in Frenchs Forest, like I said, in Sydney, probably about 30 minutes north of the bridge, and we have a full vertical operation. So we have our call center, warehouse, buying team, everybody is on site. Our studios, we have a full production facility. So everything is here on site, and we are incredibly fortunate to have sort of that whole, you know, it's so easy for a buyer to see what's actually been delivered, to see how it's actually broadcast. And really, at the end of the day, we look at everything by dollars per minute instead of dollars per square foot, or dollars per click. Obviously, we look at dollars per click too. But, you know, it's retail, but turned on its head. And I really think it is the future of retail today. You know, if you think about all the stories that you hear and listen to, whether it's Instagrammers or influencers, or, you know, whether it's in Asia, you can see that a huge movement of people hiring out studios to create content and sell. We're all about that. That's exactly what we know how to do. And it really is, we know, we keep reiterating to the team, we know that side of things. We know like I said, the mojo of selling is really through video content. It just happens to be that TV was the main medium to focus on or use that in the last couple of years. And in the last 30 years, if you like, and then it really has moved to the web and rich content on the web. And then obviously that has portrayed itself over many different platforms. So over the last sort of, 10, 15 years, you're seeing the real emergence of multi-platform. And I think we're beyond multi-platform. It really is the entanglement, if you like, or the engagement across platforms. And, one of our taglines is TVSN anywhere, anytime. And that's really true. And I think as a modern day retailer today, you've really got to be there for the customer at anywhere at any time, because we have different rhythms of living today. The way I used to live in my sleeping hours or shopping hours and me hours, if you like, are very different today than they were 5 years ago, and especially even compared to 10 years ago. So yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and it's an incredible business filled with talented people.
Wow, there's just some amazing insights that you shared with us there. I'm sure that there was a lot of envy during the period
Mm,
of COVID from other retailers and brands, because
sure.
this was how people were trying to sell in a new kind of phase for their business. So,
Right.
retail stores that didn't have even an online store or had never been on video before, and all of a sudden were trying to sell through live streams in their
Correct.
physical environment. And you've been there for
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah.
And so what did TVSN do? You mentioned a couple of words there, being nimble and being
Mhm,
agile.
mhm, mhm.
What were the elements of being nimble and agile that your business had to embrace
Mhm,
during that time? Were there any changes,
mhm,
or
mhm.
did you look at the business at that time and say, we are well poised for this period of time? Or was there still things that you needed to do quite quickly in terms of adapt to the climate during
Sure.
COVID?
Yeah, there are a couple of, I think it's a very good question. And there are a couple of things. One is you'd like to think you're always poised, but there's never, I don't think anything could have prepared us really for the scale of which COVID hit us all, globally. I think the most important asset is your team. You need to know who's going to go into the trenches with you. And I think the critical key element in our business that saw us to success is fast and fast decision making. And you do with the best knowledge that you have at the time, you make the best decision. And don't delay, you need to act. And I think that that's a critical side. Sometimes I find that when in a crisis situation, you know who your people are. And it's the people who can make informed, fast decision making that gets you through the pickly times. So yes, we did, I remember there was that moment, remember there was that week that we had to suddenly, everything was suddenly closing down. We rely heavily on guests who normally used to fly into the studio all the time or fly into Australia from around the world. So from New York or from London or wherever it might have been. And, suddenly you've got to adapt how you sell, but you've also got to really look after your team. If your team don't feel like you're nurturing and protecting them first, then you're never going to get the most out of the team in terms of what you can do for the customer. Because at the end of the day, we're all human. And if we treat each other with that fast respect, if you like, and I say fast because we had to make some very quick decisions. So I remember it was a Friday afternoon and we suddenly realized, right, there is no such thing as us switching off the channel. End of. We've made the decision. So we've got this. What are we going to do? And we realized that we had to really protect the teams. If it was going to be like that they were saying, that it was going to be, spread so quickly, we immediately changed into 2 teams. So we put a line down the middle of the presenter team, so all the on-air talent, and we called them the green and blue team. And we said, right, you work certain days, shifters now, that's how you spread. And then we also suddenly built in 36 hours, we built a brand new production suite. And the team, honestly, the most incredible team who are so committed. And I mean, if you think about it, you have to build a new control desk for director, producer, camera operator. And we had a complete velvet wall, if you like, between the two, the studio and the head office, and also the call center, and also the warehouse. So we had 4 sort of business units running. And some people, by the time we got out of COVID, and we had to be really safe about the tail of COVID, and it was just before Christmas, and we're like, oh, we're actually going to keep everything in place because over Christmas. So if something happens to one team, the other team can step in. So we're really we wanted to make sure that we protected the team first and foremost. But we never lost 1 hour in that entire time. And that's with restrictions of people weren't allowed out of there. Suddenly you need a director, and the director is stuck in their zone and they're not allowed to travel out, or suddenly they've got COVID. The team really stepped up. It was incredible, and guests on Skype. So yes, I do think that the essence to that success was a team that could make quick decisions and really communicate that to the team and why. There's a lot of people who were able to work from home, not able to work from home. So you have to be clear.
Congratulations to you and to your entire team to be able to do that. I mean, to make that happen is absolutely phenomenal. And I guess it is true to, how you described that, being agile and certainly being nimble, and, like everyone else in the industry, having to pivot to ensure that you're coming together as a team, looking after your team, and still servicing your customers at the high standard that TVSN is known to service their community. So let's talk about that community, Judy. TVSN has a loyal customer base,
Correct.
You reach over 10 million households across Australia and New Zealand, and you've actually received over 100,000 5-star reviews.
Yes, yes.
So who is the TVSN core customer, and what makes this, shopping experience stand out for them? Of course, the comfort of our own home is big tick, but what else is it about this shopping experience that has allowed you to grow this phenomenal loyal customer base?
Sure. I think you raise a good point in that you really have to know who your customer is. Don't try and be everything to everybody. I don't want to shop when my mom shops. My mom doesn't want to shop when my daughter shops. And actually know, I think it's not even about age. It's about knowing the attitude of your customer. So I always say she, because our customer is predominantly female, so 98% female. And I'm sure that's changing over time. So I'm really not stuck with that. But really, I think that this customer loves the thrill of the find. She loves the joy of the experience of shopping. Assumed you're going to get good quality, assumed it's going to be the right price for the product. So she's not shopping because of the price. She's shopping because of the experience. And we'd say that our customer is traditionally, I would say 40 plus. She loves within her group or circle of friends. And, it doesn't matter if she's living in a farmland community or she's living sort of in Melbourne in the city suburbs, or she's living, eastern suburbs in Sydney. She's the girl in the know. So she's a captain of the tennis club, captain of the crochet club. It doesn't matter. But within her circle of friends, she's the girl in the know. So really, that's the person. And I'm sure we can all relate. As girls, we know we've got our circle of friends, and there's always one person in that circle, maybe two, that always just knows a little bit more than the other person. That's our girl. So, somebody might say, wow, that's, fantastic that you bought the KitchenAid. And she'll go like, oh, did you see my limited edition ice cream bowl that came with it? Or, someone will say, that's a fantastic jacket. And she'd go, oh, did you know Nina Leonard, New York designer? She always says a little bit more. So she loves the unexpected. And I think you're right. You have to dial into that. And I think one of the things that is quite hard to do from a distance selling, if you like, retailer, you're in their homes. So it's not, we don't think that we're distant, but it's not like they're in your store and you can talk to them face to face. However, they talk to us so much. The amount of mail I get a day, like old letters and emails, and our top customers all have my mobile phone number. Really? And they are more than welcome. They text me a lot. They'll send me photographs of their new shoes or their new TV that they've bought or a new lipstick that they've tried out. And that's my responsibility too, to have that communication with them. But, you try and make touch points. Once again, it's our responsibility to really communicate. There's no such thing as making it difficult. It's so hard. You've got to make your choices and make the opportunities. And we have a lot of masterclasses. So one of the things that we loved doing during COVID, which has really, I'd say, resonated throughout our business, both internally and within we call it our TVSN family, is we ran a whole lot of, every Thursday, we used to run tea time with TVSN. And at 1 o'clock, there's an open community. Whoever wanted to dial in on Zoom could. We try to get a new speaker every week. So it might have been Amy Khan Russell, designer jewelry, or it might have been Dr. Nasser from Botched. And the customers had an hour and they could make a cup of tea and just sit and actually have community to talk, of women to talk to. There were some men too. And it was really, it said a lot about our customer. And I think that probably encapsulates who our customer is. So it's not just about buying a product. It really is about you're buying into an opportunity to experience retail. And experience retail today, especially with so much tech going on, that, like not just tech on how we buy, but tech on, the fear of tech taking over everything. The community base, I think we're really going to go back to that side of things. So that for us has been a really rich content.
I would agree, the community element. It's so great to hear, though, the dynamics that you have around community. Firstly, the Zoom calls that you were running, the entertainment value, of course, of, just engaging with your platform. I'm not sure there's many businesses out there, Judy, where you can actually text the CEO. So you must be a very busy lady fielding those texts from your customers. But that is absolutely phenomenal, to have that connection with your community. And I always look at TVSN as a treasure trove. Every time I go onto the platform, it's just like this stimulation of, something new there, and there's different category there. And, oh my gosh, I haven't seen that latest product. So there's this the experiential element. It is true. It is true to, its nature there, because there's so much to consume and get excited about. And then, of course, the different brands and the different presenters. And so I can definitely see, I mean, obviously, you know, your success wasn't just during COVID and the lockdowns, but you can ultimately see how that was just, you know, your offer, your community was just perfect for your community during that time. And as you said, so much more than just selling products in terms of what you're offering as a business.
And I think you raised a good point in terms of, obviously, you know, it seems as like we were in the boom period during COVID, because luckily we were established online. You know, 66% of our business is transacted online already pre-COVID. But the other thing is that we got a lot more competition during COVID, because suddenly everybody wanted to be, you know, had a website, and suddenly everybody was pushing the money to the website because they weren't pushing the money to the stores.
Yes.
So I think it was so good for us because we had to up our game, and we really, you know, I think, you know, to your point about COVID and people sort of adjusting or pivoting during that time, we also learned a lot of lessons about what do we really need to get this job done successfully and to still enjoy it, and to get the customer, you know, the experience to be an incredible one. And you learn things that you don't need anymore, that you held sacred before, and you realize, what was I thinking? You know, this is not, this was a selfish nice to have rather than actually what's needed. Whether it be about people or systems or team or products. And I think it's really helped us to go, how do we up our game? Because we had suddenly a lot more competition online. Yeah. And also, what do we need to do from product? I think it's actually the post-COVID that has been our, which is the telling.
Yes.
Because during COVID, none of us could travel. We all kind of, you know, the smarter retailers would kind of go after their tail end of product that they'd kind of sourced before COVID happened. You had some good connections, obviously, and they still had product that they hadn't quite fully developed, but they could send to you. So you kind of exhausted all of that. And we've been a little bit shy of product development lately. Yeah. And then everyone's still trying to get through the old, whether it's the old shipping issues or the stock issues of high-low volumes. And really, I think the telltale sign of a successful retailer is in this period that we're currently going through. I think we've probably got about another year of it, is to see how inventive people and retailers can be about bringing in new products to excite the customer in this next phase.
Yeah, you are not the first person I've heard say that. There's this recalibration now, and it's like it's like game on from now going forward. Correct. Because there's been this leveling out of the market. Before we start to talk about current day, I'd love to just touch on, you mentioned a couple of things there about leveling up. So you had to really, you know, up the game as a business, and there were a few things that you had to let go of. Can you maybe mention a few of those things? Firstly, what did you let go of as a business? You know, that revelation or that realization that actually we don't need to keep doing this anymore, or we shouldn't be doing something a particular way anymore.
You know, I think there's a couple of things, and it's about recognizing the small wins along the way, or that actually this can be done. Yeah, it's little things from, we always used to have 3, 4, 5 models in a studio to showcase everything. And actually that's not, don't overcomplicate it for the customer. In order to keep us all safe, we narrowed it down to 1 model, because we tried to reduce the number of people in the studio. We didn't have guests, they were on Skype. Yeah. And it used to be about the whole set and design and how amazing it was. Actually, we had a lovely set if you're just in camera. And it was about, where do you spend the money? Do you rather spend, where's your focus? We're not a TV show trying to put on a production, if you like. From that perspective, we've got a job to be done in a lovely, relaxing format, which makes people feel like they're at home. But also, we don't need all the fluff. To some aspects. And what is it that the customer really just wants to know? So from that side of the excess, I'd say that we really realized there was that. I think the other thing was about the value of supplier relationships. You know, you think that you're needing to do all these, you know, like if I just think about 5, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, it'd all be about lavish buying trips. I'm not saying TVSN was over lavish, but, you know, like you can go to a trade show and you can just see the lavishness of big dinners and, you know, like special cars and all this extra, if you like. But really at the end of it, it's about, what is your trading relationship like? Where do you help each other out in order to actually have the better outcome for the customer? You've got excess of X amount of material or fabrication. You've got excess amount of production here. How do you work together? You know, I remember some beauty suppliers, and it might be very much about, we don't have the caps for this bottle. And, you know, like, we're not going to get it in 6 months' time because we've got a production issue. And it's about rethinking. You don't just drop the supplier. It's about relationships. And I
Yeah.
think that that end of it is really solidified for us. And then probably another example is you realize that the world is a smaller place and you have to play a part in it. So, we had, obviously everyone had lots of issues with regards to supply chain, and things are arriving 3-6 months later. So things like fashion and accessories, suddenly we were getting all of summer in our winter period, and we were getting all of, and other people on the other side of the world and Northern Hemisphere were getting it on the other side. We're like, oh, we don't actually have to stress about this the way that we do. We need to think smarter, stop being so territorial. So we reached out to a couple of vendors who we knew shared and had businesses on the other side of the world in the Northern Hemisphere, and said, listen, we know that you always talk about us being relatively similar. Why don't we help each other out? I'll reroute our containers to them, and they can reroute their containers to us. It's the same brand. You know what? Yes. 15% of it I wouldn't have bought, maybe our buyers wouldn't have chosen. Same for them, guaranteed. But at the end of the day, we're here to help each other out. Or don't want that whole shipment to arrive in a non-commercial time. We're going to be stuck with stock. The brand's going to suffer. We're going to suffer. And there were some really great partnerships formed, which really were going to be lifelong partnerships. It's not necessarily about a joint venture. It's not about signing special documents. It's about realizing what's really important. So I think a long answer to your question, unfortunately, but it really is, for us, it was about relationships with vendors, relationships with partners, and remembering what is really important for the customer. It's about product and how we demonstrate it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more around, the relationships, the partnerships, collaboration. There was so many collaborations that were happening that we've kind of never seen in our industry before, that coming together. It was also a little bit of a make or break. There were certainly some relationships that didn't make it.
Yes, that's true.
But the ones that did, they're closer than ever. And as you said, they're going to be long-term relationships and, mutually beneficial. It's almost like, we've got each other's back. So I think there was a real shift in culture. And as you mentioned before, it's like, we realized what's important. Most of us, the majority of us, had a real mental shift around what's important, not only in business, but in life. And that really, I think, created some really nurturing relationships and took them to the next level. So it was really lovely to kind of see that play out. There was also some downsides, which, we saw play out, but we've come out the other end, I think, stronger for that as well.
It's how we deal with things.
Correct.
It's really how.
Couldn't agree more. Judy, I'd love to talk about the brand side of the business. I'm no doubt you had lots of brands knocking on your door during that period, but let's talk about the typical day at TVSN. How do brands apply to become a stockist of TVSN, and how do the commercial terms kind of compare to a traditional wholesale model?
Sure. We're a traditional retailer of sorts in that we will buy the product before it goes on display to sell, put it that way. So, we have different people approaching us in so many different ways. It might just be somebody dropping off something downstairs in reception and says, with a note, would you like to try? Through to, we have there's an accessibility on our website to go, if you're a new vendor or you'd like to, for us to look at a product, would you like to see? I really prefer it if people come directly, rather than don't use an agent unless you have to. It really is, don't pay anyone to have to come to us. At the end of the day, we're a group of people who are product hungry and will happily, it might take a month or two, I'm not going to lie, depending on where people are and if they're traveling or not, but we will get back to you. And we really love it. And even sometimes it's the smallest thing. I saw this fantastic brand the other day called Fridge Friend on Instagram, and it's a dad and his son who've developed this product that's in your fridge. And he just was texting me yesterday and saying they've just shipped their 900th order. We love those stories where, where you can find something where it's entrepreneurial, but because we're all about storytelling and how can we do it? And then, it might be somebody's sister's brother's friend. And then, of course, there are some things that we want to go. We've got a really good celebrity engagement, if you like. We have done quite a few brands, and in my lifetime I've done a lot of celebrity brands and developed a lot of brands for celebrities in my past consulting business. And you just end up getting a reputation for, you're not starstruck, but you appreciate for who they are and what they can bring to the table. And really it's about being authentic. So for us, it's about authentic collaborations. It doesn't matter if it's the dad and his son, or if it's a big new brand who's got a new marketing director or a new CEO who goes, actually, I think we're missing a trick. or a GM. You know, we've had a GM of a big, I'd say a big brand here in Australia, who were vehemently against TV shopping, thinking, oh my goodness, it's like that old woman on the couch. Like, why would we ever do TVSN? And then, you know, and then they go to the global conference and their global CEO says, oh, just standing up and going, the reason why we have grown so much this year is because we've had a phenomenal result with QVC or HSN or another channel in the US or in Europe. And that's where our growth has come from, because we've actually been able to show customers what the brand's all about.
Yeah.
And, you know, it changes people's perceptions about, and I really hope we've been able to do that over the last sort of like 5 or 6 years, especially, is really with the different brands we have in the portfolio, but also, you know, from our creative through to our output, and also just our voice is really about that we're current, and that it's not, it's the way of the future. You know, you were saying earlier on in the podcast, just about, it's all about how do you do videos, and how do you sell through videos, and getting that experiential shopping out.
Yeah, absolutely. You've touched on a great point there. I'd like to touch on that older person on the couch. I think we need to demystify this for our audience and the brands that are tuning in, because I still do feel there's that little bit of resistance. It's like, you know, the perception that it was TVSN or home or shopping of years gone by, and it's evolved significantly over the years.
Oh, no, absolutely.
What would you say to brands that are tuning in right now and they haven't even had TVSN on the radar, and they're thinking, oh, wow, like, you know, home shopping, like I didn't even think about this as another channel for my business. What would you say to those brands, Judy, in terms of taking a look at your business, taking a look at this space, and really, you know, start to understand the opportunities in this space?
I think it's a very good question, and one I get asked a lot. And I think that my key core comment really is, take your best salesman, whether it's in a store or in a spa or a salon or on your board. Well, who do you think represents your brand the most? And imagine putting them in front of 10 million people or 10 million homes, and let them have 5 minutes to tell your story. Would you want that or not? I don't think many people are going to say no.
I'll put my hand, I'll take it. I'll put my hand up. I'm pretty sure every single one of my clients will put their hand up as well. I mean,
and you can tell it in your words.
Yeah.
And I think it's about, how do you tell it in a, you know, it really is about the company you keep. So we are very particular about brands that we sell. We're very particular about brand architecture. If it's in mass distribution, we're not really that interested, because I think we're after the unique stories, the untold stories, the things that people can find that they're not just going to find. You know, we're not an advertiser, we're a retailer. And of course, you're going to get so much more for your brand. I remember Leonard Lauder made a quote about QVC at the time when we did Bobbi Brown on QVC in the UK, and he was saying actually it increased the footfall in John Lewis by about 4 times, but actually the trading by 2.5, because what happens is that, I wish they'd all come and just buy from TVSN in all fairness, but whether it's a camera or a bath and body product, or it's a high-end skincare product or a KitchenAid, they finally, the customer has been flicking through the channel, or has watched it on a website, or has watched it on streaming, and goes, oh, that's how you use it. I've never seen that before. Or, you know, you're selling a shampoo and conditioner. You know, we're always going to, as girls, we're always going to buy shampoo, probably conditioner as well. But it's the mask, or it's the treatment to give yourself body that you really miss, and you're not going to see it in a box. On a beautiful stand, no matter how good the gondola display is, no matter how many bells and whistles you've put out there, you're always in competition with somebody else, or you're just swiping through on a website. So it's about, how can you make that product come to life? And, you know, it's about the company you keep. So that's also our responsibility to make sure that we're not flooding it. We have a very good structure of brands, and edited choice, we always say. We're not trying to sell the whole brand, the entire width of the brand. We're trying to see the core sort of products and make those come to life. So I definitely think it's about, would you not want to tell 10 million homes about your product with your best salesperson?
I just think that's so powerful. Firstly, the company you keep. I think that is so important, being in good company as a brand, and being in the right retail environment. And of course, for you, having the right mix of products and the right mix of brands. But also exactly what you just repeated there around having, you know, a representative of your business that's given a platform to stand up in front of 10 million people and bring the product to life. I think that is key. We all work so hard online outline to articulate to our customers or clients what our business does, why we exist, if it's a product, how does that product work? There is so much work put into content creation for any e-commerce business to be able to do just that. And as you said, how powerful for a presenter to be standing up and talking through that product, and or if it's clothing, you've got the model there and you're talking through the drape of it and the handful of the fabric and all of the things where the viewer then just gets, you're really, you are taken on that experience.
You really are.
You're embodying that, you're imagining yourself in that, piece of clothing or using that particular product. So let's touch on the presentation. This just works seamlessly into a question that I had around the presentation. So obviously you've got your own amazing team of TVSN presenters, but I was very interested to ask you about how the brands do get involved. So you've used that example as, best salesman stepping out and, presenting in front of 10 million people. For most of us, that would be a little bit nerve-wracking, even thinking, oh my gosh, so do brands typically send someone that is actually the representative of the brand, the designer, the creative director, or even the owner of its smaller business? Or do some of the brands actually, hire or train a presenter that has a little bit more media training or a little bit more polish? What does the dynamic usually look like?
Actually, the most authentic, the better. So when we bring on a brand, we don't actually do the final dotted sign off until we know who the representative of the brand is going to be. We say that our core difference to any other traditional retailer, for example, a bricks and mortar store, is that we know the product. We all have a product. We also have the story, but we've got the storyteller. Yeah. And I think that really makes the difference. So whether it's the owner or the founder, sometimes, we've got it might be a guest, we have sometimes you're going to find people who are the designer and they've been there for years and they're passionate. I'm not looking for Miss America or, like some actress that's been famous, but do they speak passionately? And you can see it when it comes out of somebody, when they're talking about something, it's authentic. And I think that's for us. So therefore, we often find that paid actresses or paid media talent don't actually work because they know what to say, but it doesn't come across and the customer can smell it a mile away. And what is really good is that one of the other things that I probably should have mentioned is one of the reasons brands who finally do sort of capitulate, if you like, if they thought they were very against it before, now they are, or some of those brands who've just loved being our partners for years, is that you get instant reactions. So every 3 seconds, you know what the customer has bought. So at any one time, you can put a dress, you can put a boot, you can put exfoliator on air, and immediately you can see with which words the customer has responded. You can't get many mediums like that today, where you can immediately see that the customer has voted, and within minutes you can see the whole picture of which product's better than the other. In traditional retail, we wait for the Monday report to come out, and we're desperate or trying to get the area manager's consult, if you like. This is the customer's voting immediately, and you can see what she's saying. So we have real-time data. So the smarter brands, I'd say, or the more sort of engaged brands will actually sit in our green room and they'll actually watch and track the sales and then go, oh, she said hydrate. Hydrate worked better than another word, for example. And they're able to then take that back to their spa or to David Jones or to Meyer, wherever they might be, and to be able to train their store staff with regards to how they should react in store. Because it's actually, as much as I was saying earlier, as much as we'd love everyone to shop from us, they are learning about the brand. And I think that the more established brands that have had brands with us for many, many years, the way that they train their store staff is to say, don't try and sell the customer the first product. She's coming in educated. She goes, oh, I've seen that product before. Now you need to sell her the second product. Get the upsell, because she's going to buy that first product already, because someone else's TVSN has trained her. She already understands the hot pot, or she already understands the Nikon camera. But actually sell her the next thing, sell her the upsell. So it's just about how people can engage.
This is the real art of retail, isn't it? This is the real, consumer psychology, as you said, the data in real time, the language you're using, immediate response, if it's landed and it's worked and it's cut through or it hasn't. That is just fascinating, first and foremost, but absolutely empowering as a business to be able to get that information fed back to you in real time and to be able to use that to really fine tune your offer and I guess how you show up. But the other thing you mentioned, Judy, is the authenticity. And I think that's definitely what I see coming through when a brand is presenting on your platform. And you can see straight away that that's what would resonate with the customer. And I have a colleague of mine, Emma Paddock, who owns Nordic, and she, dials in from India because she's based in India the majority of the year, and of course, all of her collections are made on the ground right there in India.
Yes.
So that authenticity of being able to dial in from the country of origin of where the product is made, it just adds another dimension to the experience. And when I do tune into that, I'm like, oh, this is just so authentic. It's just like chatting with a friend who's talking about their passions and the clothing that they love, and it's just it's so seamless. So it's good to hear that authenticity, because we talk about authenticity all the time across brand. But this is the true epitome essence of authenticity, as you said, rather than a polished presenter who's been well trained in the media. It's better, and that's great for our listeners to hear, because I'm sure that there are some people tuning in thinking, oh, this just wouldn't be accessible to me. I'm not getting up in front of 10 million people. But at the end, it's just telling your story at the end of the day, organically and authentically.
Correct. We always say that we obviously give people some camera training, but it really is, like you said, Emma joins us from India. We can see she's not trying to do it from a studio. We actually encourage, during COVID, a lot of people on TV, whether it's BBC or ABC or CNN, everyone created studios in their home office. And actually everyone goes, oh, we've created this lovely studio, Judy, in our study. And I'm like, oh, no, please. If you're a fashion brand, do it from your closet. If you're a homewares brand, sit in your lounge, sit in your living room and show us how the carpet cleaner works. Like, we want to see it in your kitchen, like real kitchen. We've got a fantastic presenter, a guest from Philips, and she does it from her home, and it's amazing because she's a real mom and she's making brilliant dishes in her own home. She's not like, with these phenomenal knives or, some unusual ingredient. She's a real woman making real things that we can relate to. So
it sounds like a lot of fun for the customer, a lot of fun for the brand, a lot of fun for everyone involved at TVSN.
No, definitely. And we've got some great presenters. Our presenters are incredible because they're able to draw that out of the different guests. They've got incredible skills, and they're all very different, so they can appeal to different target audiences. But they have a great skill to draw that out.
Amazing. Just phenomenal. Judy, let's talk about the retail landscape. We've touched on a few elements and, being agile and pivot and all of the things that we've had to do, but there's a lot happening, at the forefront of fashion at the moment. The industry is rapidly evolving, particularly in areas of technology and sustainability. How is TVSN responding to these shifts? And also, we touched on artificial intelligence, the AI component, before we started recording. So let's touch on that as well. So what role are all of those shifts in the industry playing at TVSN?
Sure. Well, I'd say definitely sustainability for us, or, actually, I think sustainability goes back to authenticity. To me, there's like such a core link to that. And it's about, don't do it for the sake of doing it. And I actually think that the beauty industry probably did it 10, 15 years ago. You've got people who wrote the Green Beauty Bible, for example, who, those years before our time, with that whole sort of eco movement, which really is the touch on the initiative behind like a lot of the sustainability now. But there are a lot of brands that say they're organic that can't even sniff organic. There are a lot of brands that say they're sustainable, but like you and I both know, there's no such thing. And it really is about governance, and it's about being true to what you believe in. So we are very, very careful. We don't say organic. There are a lot of brands that we actually can't sell that are in big high street department stores right now and on big retail websites here that we can't sell because we know at the end of the day they're not organic or they're not sustainable, and we can't actually live up to what it says on their label. We can't promise that. And for us, that's really key. We're not just a retailer, but we're also governed by what we say because we're on TV. So we have a really, really strong code of ethics within our business. So from a sustainability point of view, I think the customer is looking for something that gives back. And I think at the heart of what that is, that's really the truth. So how do I know that I'm doing it the best that I can? Whether it's today, I think it's in everything. Am I giving the right food to my children? Am I living in the most economical, profitable way for the earth, so that we have something for our grandchildren one day, or that we can enjoy the things that we're enjoying today. Whether that's about cotton, or that's about packaging materials, or that's about what we ingest into our bodies. It's really important for us to look at it holistically. So I think for ourselves, where we can, we've, from our building that we're in here at the moment, we're just going through a massive big solar. I think every rooftop, excuse me for a second. Excuse me.
Sure, take your time.
From every flat space is getting a solar panel at the moment.
Yeah.
Excuse me a second.
Yeah, just cough it out, Judy. Don't worry, we'll edit it out.
Clearly needing more coffee. Excuse me.
That's okay.
But I'd say every part of our business where we can, we're trying to touch on it. We're not trying to rush into it, because I think you can't rush into things like this in order to have the biggest long-term impact. You have to do it sensibly. You have to do it as a partnership with not only your internal team, but your customers. And it's not something like a silver bullet that you can it just happens overnight, or it's just a quick fix. It really is about how do we change our thinking, and how do we change it at the cadence of which our customer is understanding. It's all very well to slap a label on something, and it's all very well to go, oh, look at the sustainable range, like, oh, look at this purist. Every man and his dog, it feels like at the moment, is bringing out the same handbag range, but now suddenly it's sustainable. And really, what does sustainable mean? I don't think we've got we've got so many sources of truth. So I think it's about, what is your intention?
Yes.
I think we're looking at our intentions of being authentic in what we're doing. And that for us is, how do we keep creating better?
Yeah, we're starting to change the language, I think, now, away from, sustainability to conscious fashion, or just,
Correct.
brands with purchase, as you were saying, and also the giving back element, the social responsibility.
Yes.
So it's those small improvements. As you said, there is no silver bullet. This is not we're not going to turn the Titanic overnight, but making those improvements that are steps forward, not steps backward. But it's interesting to hear what's resonating with your customers. And is all I'm hearing again is the authenticity. Correct. So, if you've got something to say that is genuine, if you are genuinely, whether it is organic, or whether it is, a social responsibility, an organization that you are giving back to, and you've had this amazing, beautiful, positive impact story, as long as it's authentic and not really the greenwashing element. We have to be very, very careful in that space. And no one wants to be painted with the greenwashing brush, that's for sure.
No. And this is about long term, right?
Yes.
It's about sustainability. It really is about that long term. And I think you touched on this earlier, it's really about it involves everything. It can't just be product. It's got to be about facilities. It's got to be about the way we think about serving coffee in the building. Yeah. It's got to be about practical small steps along the way, so that we can embed it into our future. I think that's really key. Yeah. We have a big charity program at TVSN, actually the whole direct group that owns is the parent company. It is really much about giving back. And we choose charities that have either approached us, but we really feel like they have our customers' interests at heart. And I think it's all those little things. It's all those touch points about I have a very good saying that, someone taught me this, because actually I have one of my best mentors was this gentleman by the name of Steve Hoffman, who was our CEO in QVC UK. He used to be at CNN in Asia, and then he ended up being the chair of QVC in the US for a little while. A phenomenal gentleman. And he always used to say, don't try and make great decisions every day. Make better decisions every day. Just make good decisions, make better decisions every day. We all fall from greatness. Make better decisions every day. So little by little.
That is sound advice. Just aim to do better. We can't change the world overnight, but we can do better each and every day. I absolutely love that. So that was the sustainability and social responsibility element. What about AI and technology, Judy? What's happening in that space for TVSN?
Oh, we're so excited about this space, in all fairness. I'll tell you a little bit more about the tech. So obviously I was saying right at the beginning that we really believe that our mojo is around, we know how to sell using content. And it's not as easy as people think. A lot of influencers and people who just kind of go, oh, look, I know how to sell this. And, we'll put it up and show it. And there's funny enough, a real science behind it, to success in it. Everyone can demonstrate, but Can you demonstrate successfully is another thing. But obviously what we have is this changing platform, as I was mentioning before, of this entangled experiential offer out there. And so we launched a streaming service, which is really, there's so many different kinds of streaming services, but we launched a streaming service where we're able to repurpose the existing footage and content that we have. We're incredibly content rich as a business. Yeah. And we've got a jewelry streaming service, a whole jewelry channel that you're able to get onto on a separate app called TVSN now. And you can also have a whole TVSN style. So all fashion and accessories. And there's 24 hours a day. You're able to just watch different brands across the board in terms of, whether it be Shadrake or Nordic or Cordelia Street or, across the board, Hayley Lynn, you can really see all of those different brands and experiences. So we're trying to harness what we've got in a different way. Also, I'd say probably repurposing that footage. We can syndicate it, for example, to websites. If somebody's doing a feature, for example, on health, we're able to upload content from Carla Oates, from ingestibles, and talking about whey protein. So we really are looking at that in terms of the customer loves different touch points, whether it be on social or whether it just be on a far more informal retail platform. That's really what we're about. It's actually, with that video content, it's about education, and it's about how do we learn along the way in a fun, editor choice sort of a way. And then probably from an AI, I think that we're just busy going through some opportunities at the moment. I think the world is trying to explore sort of like what we're going to do with the different what we're going to do with the authenticity of that. And I think for us, what it has meant is that it's about, let's not forget the personal. So how do we remember the personal? Because I think we're going to be very soon onslaughted with, is that really real? Is that sentiment real? Did they really mean that? Was that really written by so-and-so? Is that really the brand? And so what we've been looking at as a business is how do we keep, so for example, most people just want to move people away from a call center because they want to move it away and it just become all automated, if you like. And obviously there's automation within, but it's about, let's not forget the voice. So, hence the text messages. And I really love those customers contact me because that's real. How do we, and especially in this age, I think we're needing to remember those things. So I'm probably approaching it slightly differently. There's going to be a way that we can use AI, and it's going to be great for chatbots and things that are customer services, and what time is that show showing tonight, and what time is Dr. Lancer going to be on air, or whatever it might be. There's all of those things that are going to be out there. But I think it's about, in this mix, let's not forget the personal. So, it's about writing. It's about, I think my responsibility and the team's responsibility is about how do we write handwritten notes to people? How do we write handwritten notes to our top customers? How do we write handwritten notes to some of our new customers? How do I phone them? Not just the call center team. How do we phone them and have a real conversation? Because everything is becoming a little bit just distanced. Beautiful, very clever from an AI perspective. But let's take this moment to just remember the personal, and remember that's what's going to make us different, because everyone's going to be AI focused and auto generated with everything. And how do we just remember the point of difference that we can have?
I love that. I love it. It's about the personal and the personalization. Handwritten notes. I mean, yes, bring them back. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it, from a customer experience? But it's very interesting that you say that, because my mind, when I think about AI for TVSN, I'm like, I was just watching a webinar the other day about virtual models.
Yes.
So, the virtual runway. So I could be here in Melbourne, if I was a supermodel, of course, I could be here in Melbourne, and then I could be also on the runway in New York right now because my avatar is walking down the runway.
Correct.
And so, as a model, I now have these revenue streams, these multi-revenue streams that can be happening in real time because I can be in multiple places. I mean, this podcast is a good example. My avatar, in a couple of years could be jumping in and running this podcast, and I'm in a consultation with a client. So, for a platform like yours, I think that's where the mind goes initially in terms of, presenters and, being able to automate and replicate content without real people being involved. But it's good to hear about, the personal element, because obviously that's the equity and the experience that you've built up over many years. I'm sure AI is going to help to, elevate in certain areas, no doubt, as time goes on. but it's the essence of not losing that personal connection that is
Correct.
really important. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think there's a place for AI. Obviously there is, I think it's about, like you were saying, it's just about how do some of those customer experiences from the more transactional administrative, where's my return?
Correct. Yeah.
How long will it take to get to me? How do I get the matching pant that goes with that top? There's some transactional things that AI is going to make all of our lives just so much easier.
Yeah.
And I don't mind who's talking to me then. It could be a robot. That's fine, as long as it's a pleasant experience.
Yeah.
Just like you get those chatbots, for example, and some I'm like, oh my goodness, can you go away? You've put me off brand.
Yes.
And some of them are actually phenomenal. Like they really do help me, or go, actually, now I'm going to pass you on. And I think it's about how we tackle these things. But I think it's also about knowing who you really are. And if you know who you really are as your DNA, as to what makes you tick and what has helped you to survive the 27 years, especially through so many things, it's about staying true to that. And if part of that DNA is about having that relationship or that family feel with your customer and welcoming new people, it's welcome one and all. Yeah. And, so the moment you do your first purchase, you feel, oh my goodness, where have I been all these years? I didn't realize there was this wonderful community of shoppers and this wonderful community of getting to know the presenters and our product. And it's about how you make people feel welcome in a personalized way.
Yeah. That's really powerful. I think for any brands, stepping into the future of fashion, that element is just so important to the longevity of a brand and of a retailer or business. Judy, how do customers find you? So we know that you're on TV 24/7, you're all over social media.
Yes.
But typically, if a customer hasn't shopped with you before, what are the typical touch points? How are they finding you? What are you doing from a marketing perspective to continue to grow your customer base?
Sure. There are quite a few different things, but I think it depends on the personality type. Your best friend might tell you about it, but you can obviously get us through different Foxtel channels. You can get us through different free-to-air channels. There's definitely all the social media channels. You can watch it live on YouTube and then also onto our website, so tvsn.com.au or NZ. And you're able to watch the live streams. You can watch the live channels right there and then. And if your friends told you, hold on, I got that last week, and they're wanting to go back and watch it, we have a whole catch-up TV section. Or if you bought, for example, an eye cream and you're wanting to go, hold on, what did you say again? Like, can I take it straight up to the eye? Or can I take it up to the boat? Or she had a great way of wearing that jacket. What was it again? You can actually go back and watch the program. So, we have an app. We have TVSN app. We've got two apps. TVSN app, which is kind of like a website or a fast on-the-go website. Yeah. And then we have TVSN Now, which is a video channel, which is really about the streaming channel, which is really easy and so transactionally easy to use. And I think that, those are some of the touch points. Our customers love actually flicking through the channels and then get stuck and they go, oh, hold on a second, what is that? What is she doing there? Where did that shoe fit? What is that oven about? Hold on, I needed that. And so, I suppose probably one of my favorites though is when customers recommend it to their friends.
Yeah.
Because that to me is like we have some fantastic community. Actually, we have a beauty bazaar once a year, and we just had one in February. And we have this whole group of wonderful ladies who formed this friendship just after having met there. And they come from all places from around the country. And they fly in and they meet separately. They go out for lunch, they stay in a hotel. They have this whole community of their own, which I think is incredible. And I think it's a real privilege to know that we've got customers like that we need to really honor and look up to and so appreciate.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
I downloaded the app last week, so I've been binge watching. So it must be the TVSN Now that I've downloaded, because it's basically, it is all
on loop.
It's on loop, and it's addictive because when you start, it's a rabbit hole because you're like hopping from brand to brand.
Yes.
And all of a sudden a couple of hours has gone by because you get taken on a journey with each of the brands and the presenters. So
that's good. Download for everyone.
Download at your own risk, everyone. It'll definitely definitely allocate a couple of hours a day.
Yeah, definitely be warned, it's addictive.
Be warned. Just from a commercial perspective, this was a question that actually came from someone in our community around the returns rate. One of the big challenges with e-commerce is the high, return rate, particularly around clothing and, it might be swimwear, it might be, things that it is hard to perhaps get your size right online. But how are you guys tracking, Judy, from an industry standard when it comes to returns?
Actually, I think we are, I'm awesomely chuffed with our team, put it that way. There are a couple of things, obviously being, we don't have the change room to try it on. So we've got to relive that experience for the customer. So we have different size models. So I'd say that the core answer is actually we're below where we used to be. We are lower than the average. We're way below what other TV shopping channels are around the world. And I think it's because we tackle it in a couple of ways. One is, I think it's about going back to telling the customer what it really is. So we're going to tell you and show you warts and all. If you're in a jeweler, it's going to be beautiful. And normally you see it on a stand and you just see the front of the diamond kind of like this. We're going to spin it the whole way around. We're going to show you underneath the ring, inside the ring. We're going to show you inside the garment. We'll actually say, this is the size of the model. We actually definitely try and show on 1 or 2 different size models throughout the day so that you're able to see it. We do have a lot of content. So in other words, we might be able to show your shade of foundation. The fact that we can sell so much foundation and it's from TV and you're doing it from a brand that is not sold in Australia. So for example, one of our core brands is Doll 10. It's an American brand, phenomenal brand. And the whole idea is that you can get ready in 10 minutes, but we have loads, like, over 12, 15 shades of foundation and the customers love it. And we don't have a large return rate because actually our responsibility is to how do we say, well, if you're this and if you're that, and then we might show pictures of different, skin types or hair types that might impact it from a clothing perspective. And then shoes.
That again, the power of that live TV element makes complete sense now that you've talked it through.
It's also the anti-sell. So I think it's about being really truthful. So in other words, if you've got a really dry skin, then this is probably not the cream for you. If you've got a slightly wider foot, or if you struggle with this is probably not the shoe for you. If you've got larger calves, this is probably not the one for you, but there's one coming up later. And it's about being honest. Everyone can sell a dream. Every retailer can make a lot of money today, but it's not about just today. It's about longer term. And how do you build the trust with the customer? We're really fortunate that we've got such an incredibly, massively high repeat purchase rate. Our customer on average buys 14 times a year and, she spends thousands of dollars. And we're really, really fortunate from that perspective. And that's based on trust, because if she doesn't have a great experience on the shoes, and I'm talking about the sizing, I'm talking about, you explained it was like this, but yet when I got it, that's not the experience that I got. Through to the customer call center that we really, are a phenomenal team, through to our experience on the website. If that's not great, she's not going to come back and buy the diamond ring.
No.
And she's not going to come back and buy the cleanser. So you have to, at each touch point, make sure that we do the best. Everyone's always going to, we definitely trip up along the way, but, we do our, let's do better every single day. And let's try and really show it for what it is.
I love that. Again, it's that authenticity element, and it's empowering the customer to make the best decision in their purchase. It's giving them all the information that they need, as you said, whether it's the color of the foundation or the fit of a piece of clothing. Is it oversized? Is it running a little bit small?
Yes.
So being able to listen to that as a customer, again, it's empowering, because you're like, actually, I would have bought that if I just saw that online, but now that I've seen it on a body or someone's feet, it's actually not for me, but the next thing might be for me. So that makes, complete sense in terms of then the accuracy on the back end, because I think we've all been caught out buying something online that looks fabulous, and then it arrives and you're like, is this actually the same product?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the smoke and mirrors, but it's going straight back to the brand.
100%.
So why, no wonder then there's going to be a high returns rate. So again, the accuracy online, no matter how you're showcasing your products, the accuracy, the honesty, authenticity. As you said, warts and all, show all angles, show all elements. So
just be honest, be honest for what it is. We believe in the integrity of the product. We trust the product.
Yes.
We really have done everything that we can to make sure that it's something that we would buy as people who work in the business. And also trust all those ratings and reviews, because, we have phenomenal ratings and reviews. I'm really tall. And I'd look at something on air and I'm like, oh, I love those trousers. Those trousers are great.
Yeah.
And then I'll go and look on the reviews to see, because, you know, I can't always pop over to the buyer's desk to go and say, oh, can I just look at the trousers? And I'll look at the reviews to see what the honest customer feedback is. And that helps me make a purchase. You know, we also have a phenomenal social community on social media. And we've got a great TVSN fan club out there as well. And they're really open and honest. We learn so much from them.
Yeah.
So, you know, they can say, oh, they're coming up a bit short recently, or we love the fact that they've got long sleeves. You know, that really helps us for future purchasing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I love that. Love that you've got that dialogue with your customer base as well.
So lucky.
I could talk to you for hours. I feel like I haven't even got started, but I do want to ask you, what has been the most significant milestone that you and your team have achieved at TVSN to date? What is it you're most proud of?
Sure, there's so many moments. I'm so fortunate to have such an incredible team. We have people that go above and beyond, that go, it's got nothing to do with the salary or the job title. Everybody, it takes all of us to make this happen. But I suppose, I think the biggest thing is that we went through COVID without losing 1 hour. We, you know, through thick and thin, there were people who learned the job on the spot. There were people who stepped up, who suddenly got flung with so many different things, that worked stupid hours in the day because they believed in this business and they entrusted in terms of what we're going to do. It's, you know, we're part of their lives and they're part of this business, this life of a business. So I think it must be that. I think it's about your people. I think it is about your people, because you can't, you know, and not everybody wants to stay. And of course, people are going to get frustrated. We're humans. But I think I'm incredibly proud of this team as to how we managed to sail through COVID, but also how we've managed to take the learnings from COVID and adapt to it now. And I think there's some beautiful things that we've put into practice about certain kinds of team meetings, or, you know, we used to have this award that we call it the Brain Award. You know, it's little things that we used to do. And now we have these Brain Awards that, you know, every month. And we would never have done that without COVID. And it's really online. It's everyone from models to presenters to, you know, people in the post room to the call center. Everyone takes part. And it's a really good bonding experience for the wider team. So,
how do you win the Brain Award?
Oh, you have to show, you get voted by your peers, where you've shown an effort above and beyond.
Wow.
So, and I mean, there's lots of those kind of things in industry today, but there's some awesome things. You know, it's never about sales, and it's never about, it's about where did you do the extraordinary. You know, whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. Yeah,
absolutely. Love it. Now, Judy, no doubt in your role as the CEO of this amazing organization that is so dynamic, I'm sure it's demanding at times. So I ask this question of all of my guests because the podcast is fashion, business, mindset. So we're very focused on mindset and well-being. So outside of work for you, what's your support system like? How do you maintain a healthy mindset and well-being that allows you to work optimally across all the things you do?
I have an incredible husband who is incredibly supportive. I feel very sorry for him. I have 3 great children, but I suppose the thing that really gets me through is that I feel I have peace in my soul. I really do. I really feel I have a purpose, and I feel as if I'm really fortunate to know that I am safe in my soul. I'll put it that way. So for me, that's, you know, the thing that steers me, that makes me motivated in the day, that really makes me sort of feel about today. I hope I can be used in order to make a difference in someone else's life. So I really feel like there's a purpose that's higher than mine. So
that is very profound. Peace in your soul. Like I think that's a moment in time we all want to arrive at in life. So thank you for sharing that. That is, I don't think I've ever had a guest say that it's peace in their soul. Absolutely love it. Thank you for sharing.
And a whole bunch of great girlfriends, can I just say?
I got goosebumps as you were saying that. A shout out to your hubby as well, and of course to your beautiful children and family. But yeah, peace in your soul. That's absolutely beautiful, Judy. Thank you for sharing that. Now to finish off, just some final words of
Go
wisdom.
for it.
If you would like to, I might just let you freestyle this. What would you like to leave our industry with? We've been through so much in the last few years, lots of shifts across retail and fashion, and there's been lots of observations. We are going into a new phase of the industry, and no doubt over the next few years, there's going to be more things thrown at us in terms of challenges. As you said, we're leveling out, we're recalibrating. There's a lot going on. It's almost like game on from now. But maybe what are the opportunities? So if we were to, shout out to our audience, let's focus on some opportunities, things that are going to lift us up and elevate our businesses. What do you see lies ahead over the coming years?
I think the most important thing is we've been thrown a lot lately. We've been thrown a lot of solutions. There's so much happening, so many quick fixes, so many curveballs, whether it be financially, trading, pandemics, that I think it's very important that we take a step back and actually remember what is it that we're wanting to achieve. And sometimes we're trying to achieve so much, but it's about taking a step back and going, hold on a second, what is this business really about? What's at its core? What am I really about? What do I stand for? And how do I use that in order to facilitate what's right in the business? I think we've got to get a little bit of less showboaty, if you like. And it's just about going back to taking that step back and looking at the bigger picture. And then really, let me reevaluate what's important to me, which I think we've all done over this sort of time. And what are the skills, but actually, what do I need to learn? What do I realize? And just having that honest conversation with yourself about, actually, I think I was okay with that, but actually I need to really top that up a little bit. It's about being very honest with yourself about what's needed for your growth and therefore how you can truly contribute to your business. The other thing that I can never stress enough, and I'd say I've learned this more and more and more every single day, is that look at everything as an opportunity. The moment you start being negative about something, you've really lost the battle. Oh my goodness, but how are we going to do this? It's such an awful day. It's all such a predicament. You're going to stay in that predicament. You're going to stay in that awful day unless you choose to look at life through a different lens. You're going to choose to look at your retail issue, if you like, through a different lens. I'd even say choose to look at success through a different lens, because success is in the moment. And really it's about long-term. What are you going to look at? You have to start looking at success in different ways, because success is, if you got success today, you're going to need to start carving out what your success is for the future. And so I'd say take a step back, know who you really are in the process, be open to learning, because we can all learn so much more. And then probably I say, try and get involved in something you've never got involved in before. Everyone's very conscious about getting involved in local groups, but maybe join an online group in Connecticut. Go and join a wine club that's completely different to your job or your role in Virginia, in Miami. Learn about other people, talk to other people that are not in your insular circle. And I'm not just saying on your neighbor, I'm like, not even in Sydney or not even in Melbourne, not in Australia, and broaden your experience, do something different. Challenge yourself to make one thing different a day. Maybe start, I've downloaded this fantastic app called Blinkist. And, I have this great passion, or at least I assume that I have this great passion, and I have this dream that I'm going to read all these books, and I never get a chance to. But it's incredible. They have all these people who read all of these books, and they literally condense the book down into 10, 15 minutes, like a synopsis. And if you love that, and I'm talking everything from recipe books through to, Flemish culture, through to, New York Times, and they'll condense it down. And if you go, oh, I actually quite like that 15 minutes, then you can read another book. But challenge yourself, think differently, push yourself.
Judy, that was absolute gold. You took me on a journey there. Let's take a step back. Let's look at success through a different lens. Let's experience some new things, bring a bit of the richness back into life. Maybe we need to visit that beautiful beach that's behind you for those that are watching the video rather than the audio. Yes. Thank you so much, Judy, for your time, for sharing your amazing journey in the industry, for pulling back the curtain and sharing all that is TVSN with us. And I would invite the brands that are tuning in to get involved, to go and have a look at TVSN, download the apps and have a look at this amazing platform, because this is the future. This is the future of fashion and retail. I mean, you've been in the future for many years. So definitely have a look at this as a benchmark for the industry when it comes to retail. Thank you so much. Can't wait to share this with our community, Judy, and everyone will know where to find you. We'll make sure that all of the information about TVSN is in the show notes.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's been a real pleasure, and happy shopping.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be doing some damage on my credit card, that's for sure.
Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. Thank you again so much. A real privilege.
Thank you, Judy.
Thanks so much.